This episode is brought to you by Triggered 22 LLC, a veteran-owned apparel company. By purchasing a t-shirt, hat, or hoodie from Triggered 22, you're not only supporting a small business, but you're bringing awareness to veteran PTSD and suicide. Please help save the lives of those who fought for our freedoms. Visit triggered22.com now and place your order. Let's help those suffering from invisible wounds.
I feel like Theo Vaughn. Remember when that wasn't with Joe
Theo
Rogan?
Vaughn.
And
He's
Joe Rogan was like,
hilarious.
"You're gonna put the headphones on," and he's like, "Oh."
Welcome to the American Grown Podcast, hosted by Austin Sullivan. The American Grown Podcast will focus on people from different walks of life and their journey to where they are now. Now, turn up your volume and settle in for a great episode.
Hi, I'm Austin Sullivan. This is the American Grown Podcast, recorded inside the Colortech Creative Solutions studios. Today, we have Erica Moyer, Physician Recruiter for Penn State Health, Hershey Medical Center, and owner of IAmErica apparel brand. Erica, welcome to episode 37 of the American Grown Podcast.
Thanks for having me.
I'm glad you can make it in. Some of the topics we want to cover include small business and the importance of supporting small and local businesses, supporting our military, and why it's okay to have strong convictions and beliefs in this generation. So let's start from the beginning. Where were you born? Where'd you go to high school?
Sure, yeah. So I grew up in Mertztown, PA, which is a small town in between Allentown and Reading. And then I went to high school at Brandywine Heights High School. So not sure if you're familiar, but
This is up north, kind of north of Reading?
yeah, and it's actually like maybe 10 minutes from Kutztown. So I always kind of tell people I'm from Kutztown, but it's really Mertztown, but no one knows where Mertztown is.
I know right where you're at. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. That's a nice area.
It
Kind of
is.
rural.
Yeah. Definitely
All right.
country living. Yep.
So growing up, siblings, family, tell us about it.
Yeah, so I actually had a blended family growing up. So my parents divorced when I was 2, and I ended up having then 4 brothers, and I was the only girl right in the
Okay.
middle. My parents always joke that I was pretty much a boy until I was like 13, just being outside with my brothers. We would just be shooting our BB guns, constantly playing sports, and really just lived life outside. It was a blast.
So kind of growing up, I don't want to say like a tomboy, but growing up maybe a little rougher because your brothers might have, like you said, you'd have to keep up with them,
Yes.
kind of play with them. Yeah.
Yeah, tackle football, and they didn't go easy on me.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Tackle football?
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome. Do you want to shout them out? No. Okay. I was going to say, you want to put them on blast? Hey,
Right.
settle down out there, brother.
Now's the time to do it.
Yeah. No, so that's very cool. So growing up kind of in a rural area up there in Kutztown or around Kutztown, in high school, any sports?
Yeah, so I played soccer my whole life. Absolutely love soccer, but I actually had an injury when I was in 8th grade, right before I started high school. I played mid, so I did a lot of the kicking, and so I had like a hip injury. And so when I went into high school, I actually decided to stop playing soccer and just take up tennis. Then I played tennis for all 4 years throughout high school.
After high school, what was the plan?
So I always knew I wanted to get in something that would help people, but I quickly learned that nursing was not for me. I am not a blood person. That's somebody who cannot handle like any of that kind of gory stuff.
Yeah.
But I still wanted to get into the medical field and make an impact. And so I decided to go to Shippensburg University, and I started out just in business, and then I decided to take the human resources route. And so that's what I graduated with then.
Yeah. Shout out to all the doctors and nurses out there, right? And EMS and first responders, because they see some things, you know.
Yeah, it's really incredible work.
Yeah, and I'm with you. I don't have I can't handle that either. Like the guts and everything. No, I can't. So those people are awesome. Shout out to all you people out there doing God's work, really. Seriously.
Mm-hmm.
So now, why Shippensburg? I mean, you had Kutztown right there. You got Alvernia, Albright nearby.
Great question.
Yeah.
I think that was my parents' same question, and probably mine too, but I just knew I wanted to get away a little bit. Looking back, I kind of wish I would have just went to Kutztown and lived at home and saved that money.
Yeah, right.
Student loans are expensive,
especially
when you're out there kind of doing it on your own. And so Shippensburg, to me, little bit of competitiveness. I'll bring up my brothers again. So my older brother went to Drexel, and the business school at Drexel had the same accreditation as Shippensburg. So I was like, well, I'm going to get the same kind of business degree then. I'll just go to Shippensburg.
There you go. That sounds perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you stay out of the big cities too.
Exactly.
Yeah, you don't got to go into
Win-win.
Philly. Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go. After that, how did you secure a job at, Hershey Med? I mean, that's very prestigious, especially
Yeah.
Penn State Health.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a path to get there. So when I graduated from Shippensburg, I had a job already at Reading Hospital, and I worked within human resources for like a year, and it was a temporary position. And so I really got to get kind of my feet wet within human resources and figured out that that's definitely the route I wanted to take. And after that, I worked for a staffing company in the Wyomissing area for, I think it was almost 3 years. And from there, a position at Penn State Health opened up at their location, St. Joseph's in Reading. I interviewed and got the position to join their provider recruitment team as a coordinator. So essentially, I was the right-hand person to all the physician recruiters that were hiring throughout the health system.
Wow. You have your hand in a little bit of everything at Penn State Health.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so I got to start in the coordinator role, which was awesome because I kind of got to see what the recruiters do day in and day out. I really did fall in love with kind of their job and just what they're doing because every physician they hire is making an impact in the community. It could
Yeah.
be saving your brother, your uncle, or, your next door neighbor, just making a greater impact.
Right. So no pressure, but you're recruiting these people. So you have a big hand in,
Yeah.
in the health industry around here, in the health field.
Yeah, it's incredible.
So, like, what is your day-to-day like? What do you do other than help, obviously, hire people in HR, but give us some background on that.
Sure. Yeah. And if you don't mind, I'll backtrack for 1 second.
Please.
Because when I first started at Penn State Health in 2018, I was the provider recruitment coordinator. And they actually didn't have any positions to move up at the time. So I just have to share the story of how I came into the physician recruiter role from the coordinator role. I actually, really funny, but when I graduated college, I got a lot more serious about my faith. And in 2017, I recommitted and got baptized, my life to Christ. And through church, I met 2 girlfriends. And so they both decided to relocate. They were going to relocate to Florida, and they were going to start their careers down there and get into ministry. And so I thought, this is great. Like, I've had an awesome time back home after college. I think I'm just going to move with them, right?
Yeah.
And so I was like, this is exciting. And at the time, Penn State Health didn't really have any other positions open. And so we kind of make our plans and God laughs, but a position opened as a physician recruiter on my team. And I was very underqualified for the position. I didn't have many years of experience yet or the needed kind of things for the role. But I thought, you know what, before I moved to Florida, I should really just interview and see what it's like, you know, get the experience.
Go
Why
for
not?
it.
Yeah. So I did. I interviewed with my team and I did not get the position. It was actually offered to someone who had like 10 years more experience than me.
It's kind of tough.
Mm-hmm. Super tough.
Yeah.
But fast forward 2 weeks later, I still remember where I was. It was a Friday afternoon. My boss gave me a ring and she said, the gentleman we offered the job to actually declined the position. And she said, yeah. And so she said, the team spoke and you were the next person in line. And so here I was thinking I'm off moving to Florida.
Yeah. With your girlfriends, right?
Yeah. And I had that support system that I was going to move to Florida with. And now God's like, joke's on you. You're moving to Hershey, PA by yourself. So 2 weeks later, after I got the job offer, they gave me an offer I couldn't, turn down. And 2 weeks later, I was moving to Hershey all by myself.
Wow. I truly believe everything happens for a reason.
Yes.
Do you want to shout out those 2 girlfriends down in Florida?
Yeah, Danielle and Erin.
Shout out Danielle and Erin.
Yeah.
So what are they up to now?
One is doing like hair down,
Cool.
like that was her career.
Yeah.
And the other, I think, got into just ministry down in Florida.
Perfect. So she followed through with what, they're originally going to go down there for.
Yeah.
Very cool. It's strange how things work out, really.
It is.
What's the day-to-day like?
I recruit across the health system. So we have it set up between specialties. So each physician recruiter on our team has different specialties that they recruit for across the health system. And so I recruit for the Cancer Institute, radiation oncology, pathology, psychiatry, and orthopedics. So across all of those specialties, those are the providers that I recruit for. And just day to day is really sourcing and, searching passively for those candidates, and also lots of phone screens, lots of sending CVs over and kind of then setting up interviews from there, and then dealing with like the onboarding once we get them, to get them started.
Right. That's true. You have to kind of hold their hand a little bit, walk them through.
Yeah.
What do you look for in a candidate, or how do you go about finding someone for these, crucial job roles?
Yeah, so it just really depends. But what's nice with Penn State Health is that it does have a reputable name. So a lot of people do seek us out, or a lot of times they're referrals from other providers. So maybe it's their friends they knew that they went to med school with, or they know someone who has, someone who's getting out of residency or fellowship. has family, back in Pennsylvania, or has ties to the Northeast area. A lot of times it's that.
I have to shout her out, but my sister, Emily Poff, shout out to you, Em. She went to Temple, graduated. She's at Salis up north in Philly. Needless to say, she's going to be a physician's assistant, a PA.
Oh, awesome.
And just wanted to, again, throw this out there because she's going through the clinicals, I think is what she calls them. She's had to go into like a prison, wake up at 4 a.m, turn her cell phone and keys in, and take blood and things like that. She's done labor and delivery. She's phenomenal. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Wouldn't that be crazy if she were to work for Penn State Health?
It would be awesome. Yep.
Oh, shout out Em. Okay.
Now you know someone to connect.
Now I know someone, exactly.
So here we go. Yep.
Okay, here we go. Okay. Let's get into your apparel brand. I really want to jump in. Looks like last September, roughly, you launched the clothing brand IAmErica.
Yeah.
Or IAmErica.
I know, it's kind of funny play on words.
It
It truly is.
Yeah. How did that come about? Where did you get the idea from?
Actually, ever since I was little, I've always wanted to start my own business, but I never had a clear vision on what it was. Like after college, I tried to start a blog where I definitely wanted it to be around, my relationship with the Lord and just growing in that area. And then I also started like a jewelry company at one point where I was making like my own jewelry and stuff like that. And nothing ever really came of it. And I guess a lot of entrepreneurs out there kind of get that. You're always kind of changing and seeing what works.
Adapting.
Yeah. And so for me, it was after 2020, I really, in the pandemic and just, the divide in the country and so much going on, really my heart went out to the next generation and, the young individuals out there, men and women who might not feel as comfortable talking about their beliefs or their convictions and the things that are important to them. And so I guess I came up with the idea with IAmErica to kind of make a statement and always keeping it tasteful, but just about loving our country, and pro-freedom and, conservative values and why those things are okay to be important.
I think now more than ever, like you're saying, to bring up the conversation or to start the conversation is so important because the divide, I feel, is huge between whether you're left, right, Republican, Democrat, conservative, liberal, whatever it is. We're all Americans.
Yeah.
We all are Americans. Why not talk instead of looking at each other as maybe enemies or, oh, you vote for this person, so you're an idiot? It's like, let's find some common ground.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I really like the quote that you had, "My apparel embodies conservative views and is a space where I wanted to combine my love for God, our country, and the things that truly matter in life." Mm-hmm. What do you think your brand represents to people that support your brand and your apparel? Why do you think this younger generation would embrace it or support it? Why do you think they do that?
I think it's because it's not really out there. Like, I don't think you see a lot of brands that are geared towards the younger generation, especially with conservative values, that let them know that it's okay to have those strong convictions and beliefs and to talk about them. And there's nothing wrong with being strong in your beliefs. Also, just knowing who their identity is in Christ and knowing that, that's okay to have a strong identity in Christ and not let the world tell you who you are.
And not to be judged. It's a very unique brand, and I love the play on words that you have. Who came up with the name originally?
Yeah, me.
Oh, you? Oh,
I did.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's a one-woman business. I do it all.
Just you? You don't have a designer? Or
No.
John doesn't help, which
No.
for the listeners, John's here in the studio. Erica's husband.
He is great. So my husband has had his own small business for the past 20 years. And so he has truly been a mentor to me. He's like the person I go to with questions on, all right, how did you do this? And he has been super supportive. So that has been truly incredible. That's been awesome. But yeah, with IAmErica, so it was funny. One day I was sitting there and I sent him, I went online and I created the logo, IAmErica. And I sent it to my husband. He goes, yeah, that's great. I'm like, cool. Had no idea what it was for.
Yeah.
And then I was like, no, do you like this? I think I'm going to launch an Etsy shop. And he was like, oh, yeah. And he was like, actually, I really like that. And so, yeah, I came up with the name. And I joke, too, that my parents gave me the perfect name, because Erica's in America. So then I just stuck the I in front of it and it kind of made sense.
It's perfect. Yeah. So shout out to John. Appreciate the support. And that's huge, especially when you're launching anything, whether it's be a podcast, a clothing brand, a business, to have a strong foundation of people that back you and support you. I think it makes a big difference.
It does. It truly does.
So how do you do all this? Being a physician's recruiter for Penn State Health, and now you have your own apparel brand going on. How do you handle all that?
It's a great question. You have to be very organized. I will say that. Very much time management as well. But with IAmErica, it truly just feels like my baby. Like it's a passion for me. And so since it is a passion project for me, I don't see it as work. Like it's just such an exciting thing, creating designs and having like one of the biggest, I feel like, rewards from it has been the conservative individuals I've connected with online who have reached out to me, the young women who are like, this is so cool. I want to somehow be involved. Just that even in itself keeps me going. And then also my work at Penn State Health is super rewarding too. So it's just fun.
And I was just thinking, like we've just been talking about, a lot of those views might not be the most popular nowadays. Like you said, younger generations. So for you to be able to connect and say, hey, it's okay to talk and have these conversations, especially by putting on the hat and the shirt and everything, I think that goes a long way.
Yeah, I think so too. And when I first started everything, I thought about me in college, and I've always had super conservative views, and that wasn't always the popular thing. And, even now it's not. And so I thought about like the friend I would want to have when I was, younger, and that I just want to be that to the younger generation to let them know like it is okay. And like you can make an impact even if it's, in small ways.
Right, exactly. Now, do you think your family and your upbringing, like your parents had a big impact on your views and everything?
Definitely. Yeah. So I grew up in, church. I accepted Christ into my heart at 5. And I would say from there, definitely like my parents, definitely instilled conservative values in us growing up. Like I said, we just spent our time outside and very family oriented.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And it's amazing because I feel like sometimes you grow up family and they instill these values in you. You go off, it doesn't matter where it is. And sometimes people come back really different.
Yeah.
Hats off that you stuck with your values, kept your faith.
Yeah, no, thank you. I definitely had some arguments with some of my professors.
You said it perfectly. Friends, right?
Yeah.
If they're all doing or saying one thing, but yet, there's a lot of us out there, that have the same thoughts and same views. And again, it's having that conversation. So now, what was your inspiration to start IAmErica?
I think it is just all the conservative women that I really started to admire during the pandemic. Like that was the time where I feel like a lot of us had more time. And so I spent more time online. You would see people out there really living their truth and really just not being silent about it anymore and saying, this is what I believe in. I'm proud of it. And I thought, you know what? Why couldn't I do that locally? I feel like that was my inspiration was, the Candace Owens of the world, the Tommy Laurens, conservative Barbie. Like they were just people that I definitely looked up to. And I thought, why can't I do that?
Yeah, I love it. No, I follow all those people. And
awesome.
Again, it's the conversation. That's why I keep repeating it because a lot of people just put a label on and let it go. But it's like, hey, let's have a conversation. Exactly. If you don't agree with our stance on something, let's talk about it.
Yep.
Let's talk about the importance of, like you said, supporting small business, shopping small, and then we'll tie that into supporting the military.
With shopping small for me, I feel like it's just like the backbone of our country, the mom and pop shops. And like growing up, something my parents would always do, any town we would travel into, we'd always go into like the small bakeries or like the small shops that made like unique items. And just like my parents, if you go to their house, they had all different like antiques and like fun stuff that they picked up from all over the country. And so that stuff's just always been really something that I've liked and admired.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. It's lifeblood, I think, of America.
It is.
And, it's a shame you see all these warehouses popping up and big corporations that they don't want you to be, in my mind, they don't want you to be creative. It's just like, okay, go pick this item, put it in a box and ship it out. Like
exactly.
Generations in the past were very creative, and there was a lot more small businesses because people were willing to risk it for that reward of one day, having a successful business. I'm a big supporter of the military. I have friends, family in it. What's your ties?
Yeah, so I've had several family members in the service as well. And just growing up, my parents really instilled in us how important it is to just like honor military members and also just the sacrifice that they made. And so they were big into history. So we would go to like all the World War II weekends in Reading. We go to the different reenactments. My brothers and I were obsessed with Band of Brothers series.
Yeah.
And we would actually at some of these reenactments met some of the soldiers who fought overseas for our freedoms. And I just remember as a kid, it really made an impact on me.
Yeah. That was Major Richard Winters.
Yes.
Yeah. Band of Brothers. Yeah.
Yep.
I think he lived in Hershey. Right? Didn't he?
Maybe.
Was he local? Yeah.
You might be right on that one. Yeah.
Thank you, John. I got it. He gave me a thumbs up.
Thumbs up
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah.
Yeah, but our military is is so crucial and so important,
It is.
and what those people sacrifice and then what they have to go through. A couple episodes prior, I had on Rebecca Gundrum, who was in the Navy for 20 years, and she suffers from PTSD, but just her story. So for anyone out there, whether you're a new listener or current listener, I highly recommend you listen to her episode as well, because they sacrifice a lot.
Yeah.
Erica, what would you say motivates you day in and day out to be the best version of yourself?
I would have to say that it's definitely my relationship with Christ, and just every day waking up and wanting to be more and more like Jesus. But in this day and age, or any day and age, it's really difficult. You know, I fail every day, and I have to just try my best. And I would say that's definitely it for me.
Yeah, we all have faults, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? And it's bettering yourself. And I always look at it as you're competing against yourself to better yourself each day, no matter what it is.
Sure.
So what would you say you're most passionate about?
I would have to, it would probably tail end off the last question a little bit, but it's definitely my relationship with Christ, and just, I know what it's done for my life. And so every opportunity I get, I like to share the good news of the gospel and just, you know, Christ's love and grace to others as well. Because my husband, John, who's here, as you mentioned, we talk all the time about how, you know, this world can be such an evil, discouraging place to live in. We feel terrible for people who might not know Christ and might not have that as something that they can hold on to during hard times. And so any chance we get, we just try to spread the word.
Well, it can be wild seeing some things on social media and on the news with what's going on in this country, but throughout the world.
Yeah.
And like you said, for those that maybe are younger or just don't know about the Lord and have that faith yet, or have that upbringing, it's kind of, for me, it's kind of tough to see, especially having a daughter, and we actually have a son on the way. So
congrats.
Thank you. You really, I think, once you have your own child, you really look at things differently, you know, and anyone that can spread positivity throughout the world, I think, is huge. Perfect segue. In this day and age, why do you think it's so important to have strong convictions and beliefs?
Yeah, I think because if you don't, I think it allows the world to tell you who you are.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
So well said. Yeah. I couldn't agree more. Can you go a little bit deeper in that?
Sure. Yeah. So I think that if you don't know who you are, it's just so easy to get lost. There's so many distractions in the world today, and there's so much, like we were just kind of saying, negativity, evil, and things that will tell you who you are if you don't know who you are. And so that's why I always look to Christ and what his word says to tell me who I am, because if not, it's very easy to get discouraged.
Because I've had a lot of guests on in the past, and it seems to be a theme which I love. You know, finding the Lord, finding Jesus Christ, and finding your faith. If someone, whether younger or older, wants to find their faith, what do you recommend they do?
Yeah, so I definitely recommend that they maybe go to someone who knows the word, definitely knows their Bible pretty well, but it's as easy as accepting Christ into your heart. You just have to pray and, you know, ask the Lord to come into your heart. That's really it. There's no crazy rules you have to follow or crazy things that you have to do. Like, you really just have to have a relationship with Christ. And something else I'll just say from my experiences, Christ came into my heart when I was 5, but I didn't live my life following him. You know, I went through the typical teenage years, college years of being lost, kind of trying to figure out who you are. Now, I still had my conservative values and the firm foundation. So I am so lucky and blessed for that. But it wasn't until 2017 when I came home and decided to get a lot more serious about my faith that I decided, you know what, I'm no longer one foot in, one foot out. I'm putting them both in, and this is it. This is what I want for my life, and I want to do what you want me to do, Lord, and kind of just follow his will for my life. And so it doesn't matter how old you are, how young you are, like, you can accept Christ into your heart whenever.
There you go. Perfect. You actually brought a couple items, which you brought a shirt for Parker. Proud to be an American. I love it. In hot pink. I love that. You brought a hat. IAmErica. And my wife and I each got a shirt. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. You know, with your items, tell us a little bit more, like, how do you put you on the spot here, but are these made in America?
Interesting question. And we're actually going to be putting something together to explain a little bit of it. Okay. So they're sourced from outside the U.S., some of them, but I'm going to look to John about this a little bit because he can explain it a little bit better. But actually, it's like isn't it like something like 80% is like made in the U.S.?
Closer to 90.
Closer to 90% is made in the U.S.
Okay.
Because the companies that I use. So for me, it's really important to use quality. And so I won't say the t-shirt brands that are not quality, but I do use the more quality brands. So they're a little bit more of expensive pieces. And those two brands, which are Port & Company and District, those are primarily in America.
90% of your supply chain is here in America. And that the Portland company I've heard of, we do some apparel for our clients, like they'll need hats or shirts or pens or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And I know that is a very reputable brand, so
Good
very
quality.
cool. Yeah. So if somebody wanted to purchase an item and support what you're doing and your business, your family business, how can they support?
So they can go to my website at IAmEricaapparel.com. And then I also am on Instagram at IAmErica_apparel on Instagram.
Perfect. Now, do you do any shows or events? Like, do you go out at all?
Every now and then. Last year we did the Market on Chocolate a lot. I loved being out and getting to meet people.
I know right where you're at. That's a nice location there.
Yeah, right downtown. That was fun, but in-person events are a lot of prep.
Yeah.
And so I really like selling online because I actually do everything for the company. So all the photos that you see or anything, I shoot all of that. I do all of the videos. Like I pretty much do it all.
Wow.
And so definitely it's time consuming to do bigger events, but I do have an event coming up in August. It's at, I'm losing it now, but it's at a winery, but you can find the information on my Instagram.
Springgate? Or
No,
that's up in Hattiesburg?
it's actually up in Millersburg area, like Halifax area.
Okay.
And it's for another local company's like 1 year anniversary, Goldie Links Permanent Jewelry.
Oh my gosh, yeah. We're connected on Instagram.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. So she's doing
world.
her 1 year anniversary up there and she has a ton of local companies coming out. And so I'll be doing that on August 19th.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
And you mentioned Etsy. Are these all available on Etsy as well?
Yes. I also have my Etsy, but I will say my website has more sizing and more designs.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was originally like you started on Etsy and then created the awesome website you have now.
Yeah.
And you do everything. You do the photos, the videos. So like if someone's following you on Instagram, that's all you.
That's all me. Yeah.
You do nice work.
Thank you.
Seriously, because I see all the pictures and I'm like, and all the different people you have wearing your apparel and everything. I was like, wow, this is so professional. Like it almost looks like professional photographer with professional hair and makeup. I'm being serious, like dead serious. And
thank you.
For the people that know me, listeners, I do a lot of sports photography. Here at Colortech, we have blue cardinal photography, but then I would also do some freelancing. So I've been into Lincoln Financial Field and up at the Garden, and I photographed all kind of sports. And when I see your photos, I'm always very impressed.
Thank you so much.
So
That's the
you do
biggest
some awesome
compliment.
work.
Yeah, I just started getting into photography when I started this. One of the most rewarding pieces of everything, like I said, was the young women that reached out. So anyone you see modeling on my page, they actually reached out to me initially and just said, hey, if you need a model, I'd love to do it. And so then we invite them out. So my husband's family has a farm in Hershey, and we invite them out to the farm, and then they come and shoot with me.
Beautiful location. That is so cool. And it's great that they're reaching out because it means they really believe in your brand and what you're trying to get out there.
Yeah, and they love to spread the word and kind of get it out there. Yeah, it's awesome.
Very cool. Awesome. So now, before we close out, is there anything else that you'd like to share with the listeners? Anything up and coming? Any new items that will hit the store that they should be looking for? Yeah,
so this fall, we're definitely going to be launching some newer items. But I think the only thing that I really wanted to share is just to the young men and women in the next generations coming up, that it's okay to be strong in what they believe in and also just be secure in their identities in Christ.
Erica Moyer, owner of IAmErica and the American Grown podcast in the Colortech Creative Solutions studios. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much.
To see photos of today's guests and more content, just search American Grown Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and leave a review.
If you'd like to be a featured guest on the podcast, please direct message or email Austin at AmericanGrownPod@gmail.com.